The full trailer is here, and we are less than a month away from new episodes of Futurama. I still can't believe that's a thing. And though the trailer is just under 2 minutes long, there are an obscene number of details to dive into. We also have the previous teaser trailer, another cool piece of marketing from Instagram/TikTok, and of course all of the episode titles. There's actually so much we can piece together from all this. So yeah, this is going to be an exhaustive trailer breakdown. Let's do it. But first, let's talk about today's video sponsor, Babbel. I obviously speak English, I learned Spanish in high school, but I've always wanted to venture into learning other languages as I get older, especially as I look to travel more and broaden my horizon. And one of the places I've always wanted to visit is Italy, the land of my ancestors. So I've been doing lessons with Babbel to help get me started on my Italian journey. But what's most impressive about Babbel is how they teach you, not just lessons, but through podcasts, games, videos, all to help cater to people with different learning styles.
Ciao Valeria. Amar, ciao.
Babbel provides real-world, practical conversation skills specifically based on what you need in your language journey. The lessons are really quick, as short as 10 minutes apiece, so they can easily be integrated into even the busiest schedules. This award-winning tech is proven to get people speaking a new language in just 3 weeks. If you sign up with the link in the description or scan the QR code here, you can get 60% off on your subscription to Babbel. Once again, just use the link in the description or this QR code to get 60% off your subscription so that you can begin your language journey today. So for this breakdown, I started by generally going in order, but I ended up jumping around a lot to piece together different episode plot lines, so it's all a tiny bit jumbled, but you'll see everything, I promise. Probably also worth mentioning that we got this cool new poster advertising the season. Not much to break down from the poster, but I do love Fry holding a hairdryer up like it's a gun. As far as the trailer goes, the Futurama socials went right for the heartstrings by posting the trailer with the line, "Wanna go around again," as the caption. The final thing Fry said to Leela in the previous series finale, meanwhile.
What do you say? Want to go around again?
I do.
Well played, social media manager, well played. The trailer starts off with the Planet Express ship landing at the Hulu offices, and obviously we can expect this to be a meta-narrative referring to their new home on Hulu. The first episode is called The Impossible Stream, which will likely have dual meanings between the fact that they are now airing on a streaming service and probably something science-y, maybe in reference to the time stream from the end of Meanwhile. I'll touch more on that in a bit. A couple of shots later, we see Leela and Bender walking into the office.
Baby.
And in this really cool piece of marketing that they made for vertical socials, we also get a little tease of Bender and Leela at the Hulu offices talking to these execubots who were previously in charge of TV networks in episodes like Bender Should Not Be Allowed on Television. So obviously some kind of deal needs to be made here with Hulu. Leela does not look stoked walking in. I've got some ideas about this, but we'll touch on those later as well. After that first shot, we get this.
Welcome to your new home.
Our new home.
Leela says "our new home" over the Hulu logo, obviously another meta reference to the new platform they'll be airing on, but I definitely think this dialogue is referring to something else as well. I get the sense that Leela and Fry may be finally moving in together in this season. In the teaser, we see a shot of Bender hugging Fry and Leela on a bunch of boxes, and later in the trailer there's a scene where Fry and Leela are kissing on an out-of-place mattress in Fry's apartment. There's a lot more to these shots that we'll go over later, but I really hope that's what this is all implying. No more will they won't they with Fry and Leela, just firmly make them a couple, have them moving together, it's time. And the Hulu press release does specifically say we'll get, quote, developments in the epic love story of Fry and Leela, so this feels like a natural way to move that forward. Next, we see the Planet Express ship flying through New York, then the interior of the ship with Fry, Leela, Farnsworth, Mom, and her sons. It appears this interior shot is actually not connected to the previous shot, because we can see that they're flying through some kind of warehouse out of the window, which the next shots reveal to be one of Mom's Amazon-like package warehouses encased in this giant sphere. We see drones carrying packages, which we also saw in a brief shot in the last teaser behind Mom herself while she was in her office, so I think we can expect this to be the same episode. My guess being the one titled Related to Items You Viewed. I really hope Igner being on the ship with the professor means that we'll get some kind of acknowledgement that they're father and son, because they entirely abandoned that plotline after Bender's game. After this, the ship hits Bender in the middle of the Momco warehouse. Next, we get the first little peek at their COVID storyline, which I know a lot of people are dreading, and we'll touch back on that that later as well, because right now I want to talk about the dialogue they put over this shot, which is extremely interesting.
We seem to have survived a massive disruption in the flow of time.
So my guess here is that this dialogue is from the premiere, following up the events of Meanwhile, which were obviously, as the professor said, a massive disruption in the flow of time. It would be very strange if they were not referring to Meanwhile and there was just an entirely different disruption in the flow of time. I think this likely also ties to this shot from the teaser where we can see Leela standing in front of a pinup calendar marking July 3023. My guess has always been that after the events of Meanwhile, the crew ends up emerging 10 years in the future, and in this case, it looks to me like those missing 10 years might be creating some major problems for Planet Express. For one, I think this is likely what leads to the conflict with Hulu. Maybe in their absence, Hulu purchased Planet Express as a company or their building, leading to Leela and Bender needing to go negotiate with them. Secondly, take a close look at the shot that is typically seen in the opening sequence of Futurama. It's nearly identical to what we saw in the original opening, except for one major difference: this giant Momco building right here in the middle. As far as I know, the details of the intro sequence did not change in the series previously, outside of switching to high definition after the Fox seasons. So adding a giant Momco building into the title sequence feels kind of like a big deal. Like it's meant to highlight some of the ways the world has changed over the past 10 years. Previously, Mom's company was called Mom Corp. It seems to have changed to Momco, and it has a major presence throughout this trailer, taking on the role you'd expect to see Amazon fill, which makes sense. Mom increasing her grip on the corporate landscape totally tracks, and the increased presence of Amazon is something Futurama seemed likely to explore through her character. But of course, over this line, we see more really exciting footage of the forward-traveling time machine from the late Philip J. Fry. Now, I think the dialogue that's over the footage doesn't actually correlate to that episode, despite being time-related. I think this is actually just editing trickery, because it appears as though we're going to be seeing the time machine in the Xmas episode, which is titled I Know What You Did Next Xmas. In this first shot, you can actually see winter and Xmas decor behind the professor. Additionally, it looks like the professor has altered the time machine to travel back in time now, as we see the professor move the lever back to reverse. He likely made this change after the mishap in the late Philip J. Fry when they got stuck in the future. The title of this episode is obviously a reference to the horror movie I Know What You Did Last Summer, and the Hulu press release claims we'll learn the secret history of the evil robot Santa. I'm curious if the professor is traveling back in time to learn that secret history and perhaps stop it from occurring, but based on footage later in the trailer, this appears to be a major Bender and Zoidberg story. We see Bender burping fire next to the time machine with Zoidberg cowering in the background, and later we see Bender lassoing Robot Santa with Xmas lights, also with Zoidberg in the time machine. Shortly after this, we see an explosion out of the Planet Express building, with the crew running from something or someone hooked up to these vats of slurm. I've got some theories here. I think this is likely part of the Rage Against the Vaccine episode, the one that lots of people seem to be dreading. Let's break down all the footage from that episode that we can find. They show news footage about a new virus that is broken out called Explovid-23, an obvious reference to COVID. The news reports show mutants next to the image of the virus, and I think this indicates that they will believe the virus to have originated with sewer mutants and then subsequently blame the sewer mutants. I expect their intention here is to parallel some of the mistrust that people showed towards China after COVID broke out. We also see some kind of festival/press conference called Back to Normal Fest 3023 with 2021 and 2547 both crossed out on the signs, the first year referencing COVID and the next some unknown pandemic from the year 2547. There seems to be some people in the crowd protesting with signs, and on stage we see Mayor Poopenmeyer and Dr. Cahill, who we have previously seen working at the Head Museum. Next we see the professor claim he developed a test to determine if you're infected with this virus.
You jam this Q-tip up your nose.
That looks kinda fun. I can't wait to do it hundreds of times.
Obviously, these are some already dated references to COVID testing, and yes, I totally understand why people are upset about these jokes, but it's pretty minimal, all things considered. I want to point out some of the more fun aspects of this episode that you can kind of dig into here. For one, the name Explovid-23 obviously suggests that the virus makes you explode, and I'm relieved it has some kind of silly Futurama twist and isn't just a virus like COVID. I think that the scene of the explosion is probably a character with Explovid actually exploding, and I think that the vats of slurm could be a parallel to people trying to treat COVID with stuff like ivermectin a couple years back. Two, we get a little hint that Lur might have the virus when he sneezes at this press conference, which on its face is kind of whatever, but if you remember, Lur is an Omicronian. This is actually a pretty clever joke about the Omicron variant of COVID, likely teasing an Omicronian variant of Explovid. I think it's also likely that the other shots in this trailer of the Omicronian ships attacking attacking Earth are from this episode. Maybe they're attacking because they blame Earth for the virus spreading to their planet. That Instagram teaser also shows syringes in the background, I assume referencing the titular vaccine that people are raging against. Next, we see Fry facing off in an Old West duel with the Borax Kid, who was introduced back in the episode Newtopia. Then we see a very cool rotating shot of the duel, which also includes a robot piano player, some random older gent, a woman shooting down from a bridge, and Bender shooting up from a crater, while Hermes cowers in the crater with Bender. And then later in the trailer, we actually see Hermes and Dwight limboing out of that crater together. I love seeing Dwight limboing too. I don't think we've ever seen him do that before. Next, we see this.
Pretty lawless out here in crypto country.
Say, you interested in a job?
Okay, can we point out how funny it is that Roberto's gun shoots knives? Oh, perfectly Roberto. This is definitely the episode How the West Was 1010001. In the Insta-tease, we actually see a sign called Doge City, so that's clearly the name of this town and a reference to the crypto thing. We also see Fry in full cowboy garb and Leela in the saloon girl outfit, implying that she did take the job that the bartender offered her. But later in the trailer, we see the crew still in cowboy garb trying to escape a room full of robot heads, and Amy asks how they get out.
Easy, we'll burrow out. Burrow! I deserve that!
So I think the implication here is that we're either seeing a full-on Westworld type of episode, which does track for Futurama, but I also think it's possible that these robot heads are just being used to mine crypto, or maybe it's both. Maybe they somehow tie together. I've seen people mad that they're referencing crypto here, and I do think the Doge City name is a little cringe, but the episode looks to move in such a drastically different direction. I'm not sure anyone could even know that this is crypto related at a quick glance. This is how Futurama should be doing topical stuff, in my opinion. Build out a completely unrelated scenario. Alright, let's back up a bit more and piece together a couple other episodes. We see a shot of Kif with face paint on holding a gun. There's not much to go on, but we do know for a fact that we're getting a Kif and Amy focused episode called Children of a Lesser Bog that I expect this is a part of. The Insta-reel tease shows Amy and Kif having dinner together, and around them is a lot of swamp-like landscape, very likely alluding to Kif's home planet, Amphibios 9. Plus, the Hulu press release claims that we'll learn the whereabouts of Kif and Amy's tadpoles. I know this is a storyline that so many people are majorly anticipating, and I'm personally also really looking forward to it. There's one shot of the professor holding up a torch saying, "To the ship," and in a later shot we see Hermes also holding a torch before water comes rushing in. At first, I wasn't really sure what episode these could be tied to, but if you look closely in the background out of the window, you can see what appears to be two moons in the sky. But if you look even closer, you can see that the bigger one actually seems to have those hexagonal shapes that make up the big Momco warehouse that we saw earlier in the trailer. I expect that this means this giant moon-sized warehouse has completely messed with the sea levels on Earth, hence the water against the window here, and that the reason Mom is teaming up with Planet Express earlier in the trailer is to somehow fix this problem before the Earth is destroyed. This also lines up with the shot of Mom slapping all of her kids, plus Fry, Leela, and the professor on what looks to be the moon. I wouldn't be surprised if they were planning their assault on the giant warehouse from the moon. Now, I expect that this is the episode related to items you viewed, however, there's a clip at the end of the trailer that I think is definitely from that episode, which we'll talk about in a minute, but I also want to theorize that it's possible that Momco will just play a larger role in the series entirely throughout these new episodes. The placement of the Momco building in the title sequence suggests this, at least to me, and in addition, I'm having a hard time imagining how this Momco warehouse storyline would coincide with the clip at the end of the episode. They feel like different storylines, but I could be wrong. Let's talk about that last clip, the clip that I think further cements the idea that Fry and Leela will likely be moving in together.
Would you like to order erotic scented massage oil or fuzzy handcuffs?
Yes,
God,
please.
that's creepy.
I mean, yeah, so creepy.
So I think that this is clearly the episode related to items you viewed, since it's literally directly showing an Alexa-type device suggesting items to buy for Fry and Leela. On top of that, we see a ton of boxes in the background that have the Momco label on them. We also see these labels on the boxes in the Insta teaser when we see Bender working at the Momco warehouse with another robot. So you can see why I assumed these might be the same episode with the boxes all matching, but I'm not counting out the possibility that we'll just be seeing a lot of Momco stuff throughout the entire season. Okay, let's tie up a few random clips here and there before I get into another highly anticipated episode. There's a shot of Fry having some sort of cabbage fight in his apartment.
Oh, my cabbages!
We see a shot of Kif waxing Zap's chest, which we saw a tease of in the teaser as well. I think this is probably the episode Zap gets canceled, possibly getting canceled because of the things like this that he makes Kif do, even though he's a superior officer. There's a shot of Calculon, Monique, and human friend from All My Circuits on a swan boat that breaks in half. So yes, Calculon is seemingly back after dying twice and residing in robot hell in previous seasons.
Calculon's back!
It is possible that this clip from the earlier teaser trailer is showing him actually escape hell as he jumps up out of the ground here. We do know the Robot Devil was definitely sick of him in that episode. There's also this clip.
You do you, weirdo!
Not much to say there. We see Nibbler eat a dog while on a walk. That's pretty classic. I do think it's funny that even though we see Nibbler interact as a member of the crew now, they still take him on walks like he's a pet. Scruffy says yup. Linda, the news anchor, laughs. Standard stuff. The one part of the Instagram reel teaser I can't seem to place is Hermes holding tarot cards and Elzar holding a spice weasel. There's also a street sign the corner of Bourbon Street and Diet Coke Avenue, so I assume this might be an episode revolving around New Orleans cooking, or New Orleans cooking, but I have no idea which title would align with this one. Maybe the 10th episode all the way down. The last episode I want to talk about is Parasites Regained, a highly anticipated one as a sequel to one of the best episodes of the classic seasons, Parasites Lost. And I think I've pieced a lot of this episode together through these clips and other info. So at the end of Parasites Lost, the Parasites did tease that they'll be back after Fry purged them from his body.
We'll leave, but one day you'll be eating a fast food burger and boom! You'll be crawling with us again.
So I definitely think it's possible that someone else gets parasites, but I also think it's possible that these parasites had to go somewhere after they left Fry. And the trailer shows us this clip of those parasites, seemingly the same ones as before.
Stop fighting! Okay, I'm done.
We also see in the teaser that Nibbler is staring into his litter box, fumes coming out, turning his eyes orange. So I think that either A, Nibbler got parasites and then pooped them into his litter box, or B, after they left Fry's body, the parasites fled to Nibbler's litter box and have been living there. And this will, for some reason, require Fry, Leela, Bender, and Zoidberg to shrink down, similar to how they did in Parasites Lost, and go down to meet with those parasites. But it will also give us somewhat of a Dune parody, given that we've also seen the crew running from the giant sandworm, or I guess small litter worm.
Fry, why don't you have a belt?
Or at least a substantial butt!
Sorry, guys. I'm a flatty.
We see a little shot of this in the teaser, and obviously this extended version in the full trailer, and we know that these are the same episodes because of their guns here. The Instagram reel teaser also shows not only the giant sandworm, but a destroyed version of the Planet Express ship sitting in front of a giant sand palace, which I assume the parasites have built and taken up residence in. This might be unrelated, but we also see Fry, Leela, Bender, and Zoidberg in this tank while the professor shoots lasers at them. Given that it's the exact squad seen in the Parasites Regained clips, this could be them training with this vehicle to drive across the litter desert before they shrink down. And there's one other very quick shot earlier in the trailer where Fry, Leela, Bender, and Zoidberg all pop out of Nibbler's tiny ship right in front of the litter box. So I expect that everyone but Nibbler goes in, perhaps with the Planet Express ship, which we obviously see is beat up and or destroyed while there, and then Nibbler has to go in after them, this shot being them emerging at the end of the episode. But you know, that's just my best guess. And that is about all I've got for this very exhaustive and comprehensive trailer breakdown. And honestly, I am far more encouraged than discouraged by this trailer. While I, like many others, found the topical COVID stuff a little bit groan-worthy, I was at least encouraged that they seem to be taking it their own fun route. And while I didn't laugh a ton at the trailer overall, the premises of these episodes are all really intriguing to me. I love that the series is choosing specifically to follow up long-running Futurama mysteries. That really makes it all feel worth it to me. And the clear decision to put Fry and Leela together instead of continuing the exhausting will they won't they stuff is a huge win. I'm still just cautiously optimistic because the show ended so perfectly already, but after exhaustively combing over this trailer, I found more to be excited about than not. If you like this breakdown, stay tuned. I'm going to cover every single episode of the new season each week as they air, and I'd love if you join me on that journey. If you want to see more of my Futurama analysis, I have tons of videos from the past few years that you should definitely check out. But what did you think of the trailer? Were there any details I missed? I'm sure I didn't get everything right, but I think I'm on the right track for a lot of it. Let me know below in the comments, and stay tuned for more. Peace.
I stay mellow watching Johnny two cellos. He talks cartoons, he's a really cool fellow. He keeps you posted on adult cartoons. If that's what you're into, then grab a spoon and a very big bowl of your favorite cereal. Feels like Saturday morning cartoon material. Johnny two cellos, watch him on YouTube. Now enjoy this groove and bust a move.